Good evening, members. Thank you very much for joining today's webinar series. And today's topic, as you have seen, is negotiation skills for investment and finance professionals. I'm FA Diana Morioki Maina, the CEO of the Institute of Certified Investment and Financial Analysts. Thank you very much once again for joining us. We are happy that you're here with us today, since negotiation is very key, very important. It's something that we do on a daily basis, but more importantly, we want to find out how we can apply the negotiation skills in the investment and finance field. Normally for me personally, how I learn negotiation, I think the only TV program I watch is Shark Tank, and I learn a lot of negotiation skills from that particular program. Perhaps someone can relate, they actually watch Shark Tank. But aside from that, today I believe we have very remarkable speakers who have expertise, who have been exposed in the area of negotiation in the investment and finance industry. And one of them, as we have seen, is F. Geoffrey Njeni. He's a consultant. He has a guy with so many titles. I think he can tell us all his titles, though he's normally a bit shy of using them, but it's good to also recognize that, hey, here I am, I'm qualified, I'm credible. So believe that we learn a lot from F. Geoffrey Njeni, who's also a CFA, and we also have F. Elizabeth Irungu. F. Elizabeth Irungu is also a CFA, and she's a business development manager at ICA Lion Asset Management. I believe that we'll really learn a lot from her. I have actually seen her at the negotiation table, and I believe we're in safe hands, and we'll also learn a few tips on how to negotiate effectively and how to at least see how it can be a beneficial deal between two parties. So welcome once again. I won't speak much. For me, I just want to introduce F.A. Geoffrey Njeni to start off. And before he does that, I'd like to request that if you have any questions that you'd want any of our speakers to answer, maybe you had a burning one before we even began the session, kindly just use the Q&A tab at the bottom of your screen and send in your questions there. We highly encourage you to make this as interactive as possible. We will hope to answer all the questions that you may have regarding negotiation. And we are also live on our YouTube channel, that is the Institute of Certified Investment and Financial Analysts YouTube channel. You can also tell people who you know that may not be able to join us on Zoom to also watch this webinar session on our YouTube channel. So welcome all. And without speaking much again, let me introduce F.A. Geoffrey Njeni to start off. He'll give a brief presentation, and then from there we'll go straight to the panel discussion. Welcome, F.A. Geoffrey.
Thank you so much, F.A. Diana, and I'd like to extend my gratitude to the Institute and also all the members who are joining us in this session. It's always a privilege to share ideas and also listen to other members. And I believe that this webinar will be a fantastic way to engage. Currently, I'm based at Strathmore Business School. And as F.A. Diana said, I'm also a member of ICIFA, and also a member of the Education and Research Committee. And I've also been involved with some negotiation in terms of maybe listening to clients, what they want, and in other forums. It's also an honor to be with F.A. Elizabeth. We also go a long way in terms of our journey in the CFA and the investment industry. So my role just initially is to just share with you briefly the basic concepts of negotiation. As some of us may have experienced, negotiation is not something you can discuss exhaustively maybe in a 1-hour webinar. there are many forums where you can, understand more of the aspects of negotiation. But for this specific webinar, maybe just the 4 important points we can raise, and this can also form the basis of some of the discussion. And also, if you have questions, is to see, so what is negotiation, and maybe try to dispel some myth about it. When can you negotiate? And within the industry, what are the different situations that you may have to negotiate? Then within the context of negotiation, we'll just highlight the short process and how to negotiate, and then the essential skills for negotiation. Of course, I'll also share with you some of the materials where I was able just to bring the points clearly. But generally, in terms of negotiation, even if you Google or check from several forums, negotiation goes beyond just saying, okay, I want this, and maybe I want this done, or getting your way or achieving your goals. Over time, we agree that institutions like Harvard say negotiation is basically where people address their differences. Of course, in terms of the same institution, people also say negotiation is about seeking mutual agreement through dialogue. So it's just a conversation that we have between various parties. But one of the non-gurus in negotiation is called Herb Cohen. I'll give you the title of the book. For those of us who are interested, you can also read further. Is just to show that negotiation is a field that focuses on gaining the favor of the people from whom we want some things or rewards or even benefits. As opposed to what we already may have about negotiation, it's not always about you getting what you want, but it's making sure that at the end of the day, all the parties' interests are taken care of. And I think Harvard, in their introduction, in the reference text, they're saying the best negotiation is where it's a win-win situation. Though some authors also feel that not all negotiation can have a win-win, but majority of them should aim to have a win-win situation. So in that case, then, the next question is how then, or when do you negotiate as a finance professional? So in this case, according to Herb Cohen, negotiation is only something you do when you're comfortable, because you'll not be able to achieve the situation of a win-win. So it's always important that you're comfortable, and then the negotiation will end up meeting your needs, and also it's worth the time and effort. So not all situations call for negotiation. And of course, in the investment industry, for those of us who are employed or in an employment kind of situation, we negotiate our terms of engagement. So if you're looking out for salary or package, and then of course, we also negotiate the tasks that you can do. So if you have a portfolio, to what extent are you responsible for the portfolio? Of course, there are many other business situations. You're discussing projects with your boss or your colleagues, delivery of tenders and proposals, even the pricing, how much you're going to charge your clients to manage their portfolio, or even in the banking sector, if you're going to give out loans. But at the same time, you can also negotiate for the purpose of managing conflicts that may arise in different situations. So you may find that there's a conflict between the organization and the client. There's also a conflict between staff of the same level or even with your bosses. So in that case, negotiation takes place in many of these kind of setups that we have. Outside context, you can negotiate, many other areas of life. For example, even dowry. So in that case, if for those of us who might be interested, I'm also involved in negotiating dowry to ensure that both parties get the best return on investment if there's need for that. So we have so many situations where negotiation is very important, but all in all, make sure that you're comfortable and negotiation will meet your needs, and it's time, and the effort is actually worth it. If you feel that some of these are compromised, then you don't need to engage in that. Now, from here, it's very important to realize that negotiation itself, uh, some authors feel that actually it's a process that you need to really think through, and some of these activities may not necessarily happen, but some of them are important. So, for example, every time you get into a negotiation, you need to consider what's the best outcome for both parties. Because again, remember the philosophy is win-win situation. So, for example, if you're negotiating with your client about managing a portfolio or giving them a loan that is going to support their project, then what you want to do is you want to make sure that the loan gives you a good return in case of a bank, and at the same time, the loan is going to support the needs of your customers. But at the same time, when you realize that the outcomes are not really good, you're also encouraged to find ways to enhance value. So, for example, if you're giving your client a loan about a project, maybe you might want to see how your client can manage the risks there. So in this case, what you're doing is that when you negotiate about the loan with your client, you not only show your client that you're just giving them a loan, but you're also helping them to manage the project. Of course, people also say you need to be also worried that some of this negotiation does not necessarily lead to the best for you. So think about if you don't go through with the deal, what is the other alternative you have? So if in the investment industry, for example, and you're looking for a new job, people say if you're already employed, then you don't need to be pressured to take a job that is not meeting your needs. So what you just do is, that probably if you don't take up the new job, you still have your current job. And so these people, the authors here feel that you need to know what's the best if you don't take up the deal. So if you're negotiating with a client, also about possibility of lending or possibility of managing their portfolio, then you need to ask yourself, if you don't take up this deal, then what's the best? Because this sometimes also helps you to negotiate. What's the lowest price you're willing to accept, or what's the highest price you're willing to pay? So this is the reservation price, and then you can have some possible agreements. Of course, it's always good to find ways to improve your value. For example, we're going to see briefly if you have fewer competitors, then you may have some more bargaining power there. And then try to ensure that you're negotiating with the proper authority, because some authors feel that it's a waste of time to negotiate something, and then at the end somebody tells you, sorry, I'll need to get authority or permission from my boss. So if there's a way you can negotiate with the right person in the deal, then that helps you, so that you don't have so many layers of negotiation. And of course, like we're going to see, a lot of research is required, but negotiation usually says that you need to know how best you're going to meet your clients' goals. So you need to know their culture, and also how they like their facts analyzed. And then, of course, get to negotiate. And when you're negotiating a number of things, we're going to see briefly the skills you need to, how to open up conversations, the skill of having an anchor. So, for example, if you're negotiating with a client about a loan to be disbursed, and you're talking about the rate you're going to charge or the pricing, some people say it's important to be careful how much you're charging, because that's what is going to anchor the conversation. Be aware about concessionary moves. Please remember that win-win always means that you must be able to concede some ground, but not below your reservation price. And then you aim for the win-win. So there are certain skills about human that you need to know, things to do with active listening and also managing your emotions. Then finally, in terms of negotiation, you may agree something and maybe you're closing the deal, but be very careful because some of these deals collapse once you've agreed. So it's also very important just to ensure that there's fairness, follow up where necessary, and make the right conclusion there. So finally, in order for us then to just move on to important questions, at the moment, according to Harvard and also HarperCollins, the three most important factors that enhance your ability to negotiate better will basically be power, information, and time. So these are the essential ingredients for negotiation. So maybe if I start with time, just to mention that a few authors say that it's possible to always close a deal when you're approaching deadline, because when you're getting to the deadline, people tend to make quick decisions. So I think, I remember one of our professors say that the Japanese have this habit of calling you for a 2-hour lunch to negotiate, and then 1 hour 50 minutes they're entertaining you, you're having fun, you're having a conversation, and then the last 10 minutes is when they tell you deal or not deal. Okay, so in that case, some people say when the deadline is near, then, although on the contrary, you can also delay. If you find that your counterparty is in a hurry, you can also delay making a decision. So sometimes this can also work to your betterment. Information is very essential. Please remember here that one of the best ways to make sure that you negotiate well is to develop some research skills and get the right information, whether it's the law, strategy, anything that you need. If it's knowledge about portfolios, investments, how the market is, all these things help you to, make the right decision and also negotiate better. If you're looking for jobs, you may be able to know the rates, which companies offering, what kind of terms. In terms of tasks, if you're trying to negotiate what kind of task you can perform, then it's important to know that. Know about the counterparty. We talked about culture. So finally, where you can actually get more out of negotiation is power. And this is what we've tried to highlight here. So you'll have a lot of power in negotiation if, say, there's less competition in the field, or you want to show that you're better than competition. Legitimacy comes from your ability to perform certain functions. So, for example, people say, if you're a portfolio manager, then you must be showing us the credentials to manage the portfolio, and so you're actually the genuine deal or the real deal. And of course, legitimacy means you have the right. Expertise means you have the ability. Then try to learn something about persuasive skills. Kindly note that there are so many books. If you just go to Google PDF Drive, where there is a library of books, people will talk about persuasion skills. just to be able to make people, make compelling reasons for something. Please also be aware that most negotiators are people who are willing to take risks. Some of these risks especially arise in terms of conflict resolution. So, for example, if you have two staff or clients that maybe you have some differences about something, sometimes it can be risky when you enter into negotiation there. At the same time, people say you should also be ready to walk away and lose the deal. So therefore, you have some risk there. Persistence is important. Note that for persistence as part of negotiation, it just means to reiterate some of your points and also just discuss with some of your clients on how to deal with some situations. Please note that also communication skills is very important. This issue always comes up in different forums. So your ability to discuss or negotiate in different situations, face-to-face. There's also negotiation over telephone. There's also negotiation with a crowd. Say you have a big entourage of guys. So all these are very important in terms of enhancing your skills to negotiate. Please remember also some clients require a lot of education. So your ability to break down points easily to your clients will help you to get some power. Definitely networking tends also to help you a bit. So if you are given reference, for example, a client who has some insurance, maybe they like their pension fund or some internal, in-house kind of pension scheme managed. In this case, when this is given from a referral, so that networking is important. It enhances your power to negotiate with your client. Also, learn there's a lot of issues about your attitude towards negotiation. A lot of people tend to fear. For example, if you're going to face your boss, to tell your boss that, I'm going to study and so I might want some time either to leave early and others. So depending on how you approach your boss, that also means that if you think you'll not succeed, that may actually delay your ability to negotiate better. So learn a few tricks on how to have the right attitude and the frame of mind when you're negotiating. Even with your clients, if you find that there's some clients who have questions about your credibility, you should be able to project, a proper image, being assertive, but also in a very gentle manner. So that means that you should be able to enhance your skills. So in terms of being able to increase your negotiation power, these are very important, skills and tools that you must have. And definitely that will mean in regards to learning much more, you can also do this outside the context. So generally, just make sure that you have the power, and then of course you have the right information, and then also provide for time. So this means that you'll have the ability to get things done, and you have the right information to help you, and also you have the right timing to get the things done. So having said that, I think some of the issues or questions you may have, I'll prefer we respond to this in terms of our panel and also together with my colleagues. But for further information, I'll suggest that you can also do some additional references. I think the most popular book for negotiation is written by Herb Cohen, who says you can negotiate anything. So he has a different way of talking about negotiation from different perspectives and different situations. Some of them include business, investment, finance. Some of those situations are also relating to conflict resolution. You can also check with Harvard. They've given out a free PDF book. So if you just, say negotiation, Harvard Business Essentials, a PDF book, it's available. where you can also get a lot of these details that you need. And then also for those of us in the investment world, real estate, you can also check how Donald Trump also does a negotiation. It's a bit crude, but some of that can work if you want, sort of a win-lose kind of situation. But there are situations where you can have a win-win situation. So don't forget about him, and don't focus more on his presidency. I think you can focus more on some of the techniques that he's using to basically get the deal. And of course, there are many other materials that references and books that have been written about negotiation, and this can help you to handle some issues that you may have. At the moment also, I'd like to give this chance for the other panelists and also the members to share more ideas, and also just to get your feedback and comments on how to negotiate as a finance professional. So thank you very much. I think I will now take back the session to F.A. Diana.
Oh, thank you very much, F.A. Geoffrey. You're really on time, and we really appreciate what you have learned in terms of negotiation skills, time, information, power. Those are the key skills I've learned from Njeni of successful negotiation. So thank you very much for that. I didn't know about Donald Trump's book on the art of the deal. I'll go and read about it. As I say personally, I learn a lot from Shark Tank. Maybe it's something that I can also recommend. Watching Shark Tank is the only show I watch on TV. I'm serious about it. I think I like it when they say deals, you got a deal. You learn a lot from how they negotiate, how they can tell wins from losers, how to get a good deal, etc. I'm sure they also takes a few risks here and there. But yeah, for negotiation is important in our everyday life. And now that F.A. Geoffrey has done his presentation so well and we have learned in terms of negotiation, we'd like to now move to the panel discussion, and we invite you to ask any questions. Kindly type any questions under the Q&A and we'll be able to address them, and the experts will assist in answering some of the burning questions regarding negotiation skills. And I'll begin with a question from Eliud Migwi. And this one I'll direct it to F. Elizabeth. She has extensive years of experience sitting at the negotiation table with clients. So someone is asking, how can I tell? And this is, let me just mention his name is F. Eliud Migwi. He's asking, how can one quickly tell that the deal they are negotiating with the client will be a success without spending too much time for a deal that they think may not be closed or may not be successful? Remember, Njeni talked about time, don't be in a hurry, but anyway, Elizabeth, kindly assist with answering that question.
Wow. Thank you all, and good evening to my fellow FAs. It's really nice to be part of this panel. And that question, as you have put it, is a very interesting question when you're asking, how do you tell that this thing is going to its logical end, which is always to win? But what I would say is that always go to negotiations with an open mind. Don't take it personal when you get a no, because there are always two sides to the coin. So don't take no very personally, and when you see like things are not going the way you had anticipated, avoid now losing your cool and maybe just rushing and wrapping it up. So just maintain your cool, maintain your yourself as a professional, so that you can take it to the next level and humbly get out of that negotiation. Even if it ends with a no, you still have good linkage and good rapport with your negotiating party. But obviously, every time you go to a negotiation table, be open-minded that you could end up with a no. Sometimes you could be given signals like things are really right. Obviously, when you get the final result or the final verdict, you get very disappointed. Learn how to manage that. It's part of life. Personally, in my work life now, I've learned that, you know what, when you're going out and you're negotiating, the percent, I even calculate my percentage. What is it? What's my probability of winning? Because if you're 10, you know that you have only a 10th of a chance. And so you also try to manage yourself so that you don't get so frustrated you're unable even to handle maybe the next meeting that you're having, because maybe that's not the only one. But go positive. Always maintain that positivity all the time.
Wow, positivity. Thanks for that, Efe. Elizabeth, Efe Geoffrey, you feel that you can add something?
Yeah, in fact, if Elizabeth has done a good job, remember in the process we had said, number one, go with ready for concession. Part of managing your emotion is to know, you may not necessarily get exactly what you want, and one of it is the deal may not go through. And of course, the question is very interesting because it's asking, how do you know whether the deal will go through or not? Definitely on the onset, please remember that life is like that. You must always be prepared to negotiate for a long time, but at the same time, you may not achieve your goals, but just go with the right attitude. You're here, you want to get this deal, and your chances of succeeding might be high, and that's the positivity. But at the same time, just be prepared that it may not necessarily go as you might envision. And I think I also like what Elizabeth has said about sometimes you may not get the deal, but make sure that there are relationships. Something can come out. You may not get the deal now, but in the future, there's a potential for you to. So sometimes negotiation also builds relationships. You can use negotiation as a way to build your relationships there. And so I think that should be the guiding principle. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for those insightful inputs. And I'm just wondering, does negotiation really differ, Elizabeth? Do you think it differs across different sectors, like you should apply different negotiation skills as a finance and investment professional? Accountant applies differently? Does it really differ across the sectors?
Well, I think it does, because different sectors behave differently and the cultures are totally different. So I would say yes, there are differences in different setups that you find yourself in. So for example, if you go to a bank and you're negotiating for a financing deal, it's a very different negotiation from negotiating for a job deal. So those two are different. So you need to identify and you need to have done your homework. Like Jenny was saying, have your information right. Once you have the information right, then you'll be able to prepare adequately and in the right manner for the negotiation that you're about to get into. Understand the culture of the other party that you're going to engage. If you're going to engage maybe those people who are who get very heated up, be ready not to lose your cool, because they're people who are really aggressive in how they approach it. Please don't take the aggression. Learn to keep yourself cool. Probably it's just the way they communicate. But if you haven't done your homework, you may go and just lose your cool, and then now the negotiation gets to a different level, but it is because of the character of the person. So you go from one industry to the other industry, you find there are different ways of doing things. I can tell you in the finance profession, I think we are truly professionals. That's what I say. I think being in a service industry, I find people to be very polite, very nice. So even when they're telling you get out, they're still hugging you, we're still friends. Then the letter comes, you didn't make it. And you're thinking, my God, we are such friends. I think we are, but they're somewhere rough. So when you get it rough, just learn how to live with it and gracefully take it. And when you win, also be graceful that you have got it. Like Jenny said, some deals have fallen off even after there was initial agreement. So be very careful how you handle that. So I would say, yes, there are differences in different, different sectors, different industries, and be ready for whatever.
Okay, thanks a lot for that, Elizabeth. You know, F.A. Geoffrey, looking at your CV, you've been in the industry, you're a consultant, you're also academia. So clearly, you need to tell us negotiation skills. Have you applied the same strategy across all your encounter career-wise?
Yeah, in fact, you're quite right. The negotiation will definitely be quite different. Academia tends to be very brutal, by the way. I remember there was a presentation I was doing for my master's, and that time you've prepared well, you know even your panelists, and now you're trying to negotiate for a pass. And for 1 hour, they kept on hammering, they hammer you completely, and then eventually they tell you, get out, we want to make a decision. So when you get out, you hug the next person and you feel like crying, and they tell you, you tell them what has happened in there is just, those are not people, they are not humans. And then they call you back and tell you, okay, we have passed because we have seen you have passed and we have seen you're able to sustain the academic pressure. When you go to say you're negotiating for a job, it's the same thing. At the interview stage, people tell you, okay, we've looked, we've seen you can perform this, but kindly confirm for us that you're competent to do this. You tend to demonstrate that, and they even tell you you've given us the best answer. But eventually it comes out, they tell you, sorry, you did not get a job. You turn out to be number 4. They are best candidates. But then I've also seen, even in cultures, cultures are different. One of our professors says that the funny thing about is, I don't know whether it's the Japanese or Chinese, they will never negotiate anything outside a meal. So they have a concept called IBM, in between meals. So you're having your lunch, you're thinking, let's finish in an African way, the way you go for lunch, maybe wherever place. And then after the meeting now you sit down, or you negotiate before, then you do lunch. Or you do lunch first and then negotiate. Those guys, they now tell you, okay, fine. So now tell us how much you're charging us so that we can conclude this deal. By the time you finish your meal, you're going to the dessert, the deal is already done. And so like the cultures are quite different there. But also professions are different. I know there are certain professions, when you want to close a deal with them, it might take you a while. So I think I have had the privilege to interact with healthcare professionals and agribusiness people and the finance people. And you'll find that healthcare professionals, by the way, their people skills are very low. So I think it's because of the way they've been trained, how the body works. So they look at you as just made up of muscles and blood and whatever. So it takes a long time to really negotiate and get those guys on board. Some finance professionals, they're actually very good guys. They listen to you, by the way. They take time to do a lot of analysis, but they also there's a lot of analysis. So they are too analytical in many things. So closing down deals with them is a bit of a challenge. And so you'll find that also negotiating with entrepreneurs, it's easy to negotiate with the owner of a business as compared to negotiating with, say, an organization that many structures in place. Somebody will tell you, no, you'll have to wait for this thing to go to procurement, you'll have to wait for this deal to go through. But the good news is that negotiation skills, we have the basic requirements, and then now you need to customize them depending on the different kind of environments that you have. So it's quite true that negotiation is very different across the sectors.
Interesting to learn about the in-between meals. quite different cultures. Thanks for that. But I can see this is more of a concern and how to deal with it from FA Professor Danson Musyoki, and he's saying, for those of us who are in practice, the greatest challenge we face when negotiating with clients is the lack of trust and confidence the clients have on finance and investment experts. How do you overcome this challenge to achieve effective negotiation? I think both of you can answer, but if Elizabeth, how can you answer that in terms of overcoming the challenge of maybe a client already having a perception of lacking trust and confidence in a professional?
Right. I hear you, Diana, and I hear what Danson has said, that sometimes you face clients who lack trust and confidence, and especially with finance and investment experts. That talks about behavior, our behavior when we have gone through maybe a situation, previous situation, very hard to disassociate today and what happened in the past. So if the person has gone through a painful experience with a finance professional, they're likely to associate you with the same pain. It's behavior, it is natural, and we need you want to work a little harder to build the trust. But in every negotiation, I find it more practical when we develop trust with the client over time. And trust is earned over time, and trust is earned because you are authentic, you're projecting yourself as somebody who is authentic and telling the truth. Sometimes we want to add sugarcoat things. I always say, please stop sugarcoating, because you then people start now developing some defense mechanism when they feel like you're really sugarcoating. Like us guys in the finance professional, a client can ask you, so will you deliver for us like 20% return? I'm always very careful to say, I think that one, I'll tell you outrightly, we cannot deliver it, because if you then go ahead and build that sort of high expectation, and maybe they have already gone through, they were asking that question because they've gone through a situation that they suffered because they had maybe been overpromised, then they already start seeing you in the eyes of what they went through. So being authentic, being real, sharing the correct information, facts, and not really over blowing your own trumpet. I think that creates rapport and creates trust between you and the negotiating party. So we have more work to do as investment professionals, because there are many who've gone ahead of us, and I believe they have created a barrier for us, because most likely they did not give the right information. They then disappointed our clients, and so we're coming after them, and so we have a higher mountain to climb. But for us to climb that mountain, it is being authentic, is to give the right information, it's to probably make right and maybe even reference some of those things that have been done wrong over time. But it takes a lot of time. So Musyoka, you're right, it will take you longer where there has been damage to the image of the profession that you're representing, but it is not undoable. It is doable. It can be done. Back to you, Efe Diana.
Okay, thanks so much, Efe Elizabeth. Efe Geoffrey, you'd want to add a thing or two?
So in fact, Efe Elizabeth has basically expounded well on that. Please note that our markets are very, they have a peculiar behavior in terms of building trust and connecting with clients. And maybe at this point in time, I can refer you to there's a book that is written by Steve Covey on what he calls the speed of trust.
Yes.
So Covey has really put in a very nice way, and it has raised clearly the issues that Elizabeth has said here. So he talks about having trust within yourself, and then now trust between you and somebody else, and then the trust within an organization. And therefore, all these things just fall in within your integrity and credibility. So as a person. So people tend to trust you more if you have some form of integrity and also credibility. Now, please notice that for your clients to confirm you have integrity and credibility, they really must connect with you over a long period of time. And these are things that are, done incrementally, okay? It's like the way they say that many clients also require sort of like a courtship period. It's like a courtship, by the way. So you'll have to start, engaging at different levels. They show you what, you show them what you do. They get to trust you. And then once you connect and you're starting to have some incremental levels of trust, is when they can share the information and trust to do business with you. So how you can enhance that, and bear in mind what if Elizabeth has said, I find that book by Steve Covey, one of the best in terms of building trust within yourself and also with clients. So just check it out, and it's going to help you a bit to address the trust issues with clients.
Oh, thanks a lot. Building trust. I've also marked that book. I'll go and look for it. And even if Elizabeth has mentioned about not looking overconfident, not seeming overconfident, because it's true. I said I watch a lot of Shark Tank, and I can tell you, everyone who appeared to be cocky, who appeared to know it all, has never gotten a deal on that show. So I think also just going to the level of communicating well is also very key. We talked about, if Geoffrey talked about communication skills, and I also read somewhere that it's not only about what you say, it's how you will say it, body language. You need to communicate effectively. And those are some of the negotiation skills, and we're continuing to learn. Kindly post any questions that you may have. And since you're still talking about communication being very important in terms of negotiating, what do you think are some, maybe if Elizabeth, you can start us off, what are some effective communication strategies that can create positive negotiation outcomes? Based on your experience, what do you think are some effective communication strategies?
Right. I think one of the things in my line of career, in my line of work, one of the things that I appreciate a lot when negotiating is first of all to be very keen to know who am I with in the panel. So that helps me to, first of all, if I'm addressing you back, I'm not going to address you. I'm gonna say, Efe Diana, your question about this, and then I continue. So we already have like some form of connection because I'm referring to you. So I'm always very keen on the introductions so that I get the names and I get the positions of the different people. You don't want to miss out who was the CEO and who was the CFO, and you mix them up. Be very keen from the beginning, especially introductions. Really, really, really keen. Then note the tone that the negotiator, the other party starts with. Note their tone. If they're very reserved, also don't put your tone so loud and you're overwhelming them and things like that. So be observant about how they're communicating. Be very good in listening. It is a skill that you really need in negotiations. So don't jump too quickly. Don't listen with an intent to just jump and answer. Listen to hear and to internalize before you can even answer, and maybe even repeat back to them. If I'm hearing you right, this is what you're asking, then you answer the question. So just some forms of listening skills there that you have to apply to yourself so that you are a good listener in the negotiation. Even when things become heated, even when you feel that you need to interject, hold your cool, let the person finish, and then you can go next. So those are some of the communication things that skills that you can apply during negotiations, because negotiations can become really tough and maybe heated, but at the end of the day, you're the one who is you're negotiating here. You need to hold yourself with very high regard, and do not lose your cool or project yourself with too much assertiveness. So you don't be aggressive, but be assertive. That's what they say. Don't be aggressive, be assertive. So those are some of the things that I find very, very important in a negotiation table. Back to
Great.
you, Anna.
Yeah, don't be aggressive, be assertive. Thanks for that. Geoffrey, Geoffrey,
Yes,
communication strategies.
yeah, if Elizabeth has put it well, and maybe you can also try to understand the different techniques of communication. For example, there are skills that are required for face-to-face. The issue of active listening is very important in knowing your clients very well. There are also communication skills of negotiating over the phone. So you also have to find ways of, also, even though the client is not seeing you, there's a way you can talk, checking out your tone over the phone. So you need to learn how to connect. You also need to get skills on how to communicate with clients who are not very well informed. Please bear in mind that relatively, many African countries, even though people have the willingness even to invest and make some return, quite a number of our clients don't understand issues of investments, finance, and the like. So that also means you must be able to get the art of simplifying issues to them. Communicating matters very simply to clients. I think just before the webinar, briefly, we've talked about if Elizabeth shared a report that was sent to clients, and then clients are calling back to ask, what am I supposed to do all this? Yeah. So that in a way also helps you to just know how to make things very simple to your clients. And then definitely, if you know the various situations in which to negotiate, that will be important. The time also, the place might also be very good. I think a colleague of mine discovered that it is always easier to close deals outside the office than within the office, because sometimes offices create a lot of formal structures. But when you're outside, maybe having lunch or in a different environment, sometimes you find that in a fair environment where both you and the client are also happy, then it makes it a bit easier. And so I think communication is something you can continuously improve and make close your deals well in terms of negotiation.
Okay, thank you very much. We have an interesting question from, it's actually an anonymous attendee. How do you negotiate fees salary without appearing greedy? Elizabeth, what can you say about that one? That one I've just...
Oh my God. Without, you want to negotiate.
Let me check if your boss is here, just in case. And I'm kidding.
All right. Without looking greedy, obviously, when you're selling your skill, at the end of the day, it is a sales process. You're selling your skill to your to-be employer, and you need to have gauged what are you bringing on the table. A lot of times we look at the company and you say, let me give a wild example. So if you're going to be employed by Google, who are earning billions of shillings, are you going to gauge yourself with the billions that Google is making or what you're taking on the table? So very important for you to enumerate what you're bringing on the table, because it is your skill they're buying, and that is how you value yourself. If you cannot quantify what you bring on the table, or you're saying, I want, like I've met some very young people, and I forgive them because probably they did not know, and somebody is still in camp and says, if you're not giving me 100,000, I'm not coming. And that is really, really ridiculous. You find like there's nothing, there's no benchmark. You can't even ask, where did you get that number from? how did you arrive at that? But when you're going into negotiation about your salary, very important that you know your job description very well, what you're going to take to the on the other side, and also then benchmark what are others earning in the same kind of job profile that you're looking at, so that you don't overvalue yourself and also you don't undercut yourself too much. But I say, also be humble, be willing to listen, because it's a negotiation. Be open-minded, and don't lose your cool if you hear like their pricing is far below what you're expecting. It is okay for them to have such a benchmark, and you hold your head high and you walk away from that, because maybe it doesn't fit the profile that what you are going to deliver. So you won't look greedy if you are actually negotiating with real value that you've put on the table. You will not look greedy, I promise.
Thank you for that, Elizabeth. Because of time, I'll just stick with that great answer. I think if Elizabeth has summarized it very well, and we want to wrap it up, and I'd want both Elizabeth and Geoffrey to give their parting shot. And what will each of you say about some of the do's and don'ts during a negotiation? I'll start with Elizabeth. What are some of the do's and don'ts during a negotiation as a parting shot?
My parting shot on the do's and don'ts in a negotiation, one of the do is that be assertive without becoming aggressive. So I've given a do and a don't. Be assertive, but do not become aggressive. And then the other thing is that develop both your confidence and self-belief. You've got to believe in yourself, because negotiation also comes out with how you project yourself. So that's what I would say at this point, and also prepare adequately before going into a negotiation meeting. Thank you, Effie Diana.
Thank you very much for that great summary. Effie Geoffrey?
Yes, so mine is just to reiterate, know yourself well and your client very well, and also know the deal. Know yourself, know your client, and know the deal, and go with the right attitude. Do not go for an all-out win. Do not be overconfident, and do not lose the relationship. Very important.
Wow, indeed. We've learned a lot. It has been very enlightening. I've taken notes myself. I believe we've all captured the do's and don'ts as a parting shot. However, we'll upload all the material on YouTube. That is the video. The video content, will upload it on our YouTube channel. That is the Institute of Certified Investment and Financial Analysts, and will also circulate the presentation that was earlier shared by Effie Geoffrey. We believe that we'll be able to get a few pointers from that. But we really appreciate you, Effie Geoffrey, Effie Elizabeth. Thank you very much for that very enlightening session. And I'll request our participants to kindly just click the raise hand button as a show of appreciation to our panelists for a job well done. We really appreciate your time. Thank you for keeping us engaged. I wish it would have been longer, but unfortunately, the clock is not on our side. So we hope that we'll be able to have these sessions at least from time to time for the sake and benefit of our members. Thank you once again for your time. If Geoffrey, if Elizabeth, high five. High five. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Diana.
Very good. Thanks.
Our members virtually,
yes,
we appreciate your time. Thank you for being engaged throughout our session. And I'm sure you're all aware of our new ICIFA training portal. Kindly, I'll request that in the event that you have some free time over lunchtime, during the evening, it's only a maximum of 2 hours for each of the CPD modules. Kindly just go to training.icifa.co.ke, log in, Please, if you have not activated your user account, kindly just create it. We sent out all the information. If you're not sure, please send an email to info@isifa.co.ke for more information on how to log in and how you can enhance your professional skills using the ISIFA training portal, training.isifa.co.ke. It's also open to the non-members. So thank you all so much. We look forward to seeing you in other upcoming webinars. And I wish again we'd have extended this session. Geoffrey, Elizabeth have been fantastic. Really enjoyed your company. We look forward to inviting you again for a future session. And you're all brilliant. We had very brilliant minds. Thank you very much for your time. So feel free to leave the meeting. We appreciate you once again, members, and we look forward to engaging with you going forward. For the questions that we may not have answered, apologies for that. We'll see the best way of how we'll be able to communicate and at least answer some of the questions. So have a good evening and have a good night. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Yeah,
Okay,
bye-bye.
thanks.